Welcome back to Inside Politics. We're talking today to Roy Neel. He's the author of a new book coming out, a new novel called The Electors. It's about the upcoming 2020 election and about how the election is actually turned around by some changes by the electors, and they're the ones, after all, that actually elect our president. Roy, let's go back to the current elections coming up in 2016 on the Republican side. That's been a crazy. We still have 14 Republican candidates in the race, and we're getting into the period where we're getting pretty close to voting for this. There's been a lot of outsider with Donald Trump and with some of the other candidates who've not held office before. Do you see Trump as having a real chance to become the Republican nominee?
Well, I think he has a chance, but I doubt that it'll happen. I've had a sense that Trump's support, about maybe 25% of the Republican primary voters, is probably a ceiling. And I think as these other candidates began to kind of fall off, the second-tier candidates, that support is not likely to go to Trump. Ben
Carson the same way?
I think so.
Now, we have a lot of establishment-type candidates, particularly from Jeb Bush and perhaps John Kasich and Mario Rubio. Is it sort of which one of those emerges? And a lot of those candidates have not done very well. I mean, their numbers are still in the single digits in a lot of the national polls.
This doesn't seem to be a year in the Republican Party for establishment candidates. It seems to be a time where passionate primary voters, they want somebody to throw bombs. And they don't care if somebody is committed to governing in a responsible way. The more outrageous you can be, the more it tends to kind of excite their base. So I think that this, as we get close to voting, I think you're going to see that it's going to come down probably to Cruz and Rubio. It seems to be shaking out in that direction. There are some outliers. I mean, Bush's people still think they have a path to the nomination, but Bush has been probably the single biggest disappointment in this campaign.
Jeb Bush and Mario Rubio have been mentor and protege. That seems to be more and more strained, and it goes into the family as well, the Bush Senior family and George W. Bush. Can the Republicans, just the establishment side, unite if it happens to be behind Rubio?
I think so. The Republicans, they want to win an election. I mean, they've been beside themselves at their inability to win presidential elections, even though they control the Congress. So they're
most of the state houses.
Well, that's right. They're going to get behind someone that they think can beat Hillary Clinton. I don't think if somehow Trump were to get the nomination, we would have something like we haven't seen in decades, maybe centuries in American politics, and it would really test the legitimacy of the kind of reactionary Tea Party movement and so on. But I think we're going to see a Cruz-Rubio showdown here once we get through Iowa and New Hampshire. We need to watch who finishes second in Iowa and New Hampshire, and then in South Carolina. It's going to be less important who wins, because Trump might very well win in Iowa.
Will the die be cast by the time we get to March 1st? Tennessee votes on March 1st, along with a number of other southern states. It's being called the Southeastern Conference primary. After we get past March 1st, because so many Republican states have voted by that time in terms of their choices, are we pretty well going to know at least who maybe the final two are at that point?
I think we will after Super Tuesday, after the southern primaries in March, early March.
And the Republicans wanted to do it that way. They have front-end loaded their process this time. They've even moved up their convention to, I believe, as early as July now, which is pretty much unprecedented.
Right.
Now, if it does continue to be Trump, aren't they going to have a problem with their system not being wired to deal with that?
They'll have a problem. They're going to have a lot of problems if it's Trump. I mean, it's just, he is not, loose cannon is a gross understatement.
Well, I had a Republican who I follow on Facebook who wrote after Trump was in Knoxville recently that there were 5,000 people there, and she'd been a long-time Republican activist. She recognized one person there. Trump seems to bring some people into the process who don't ordinarily participate, at least in Republican politics. If he's not the nominee, where do those people go? Do they just go back home? And if they don't vote, what happens in November?
They seem to be gravitating more toward Ted Cruz. Cruz seems to be their second choice. So I would be surprised if it didn't break that way. Now, This reminds me a little bit of the Howard Dean campaign in 2003, 2004. He was blowing everyone away in the polls, but in the end, we got to Iowa, and a lot of those people didn't vote. It didn't translate into votes in Iowa, New Hampshire, and so on. That's going to be the test, whether Carson and Trump's people go to those caucuses, they get organized, and they vote. If they do, all bets are off.
Roy, as we close out, where can people find your book once it comes out? And when will it be available?
Well, it'll be in bookstores, and you'll be able to get it online the end of this month, early next month. So I'm excited about that.
And in reading it, it also appears you set it up for a sequel.
Well, we will see. But yes, I've already started working on the sequel.
Maybe a movie?
Well, that'd be
it moves
great.
enough. I thought it was quite a page turner.
Well, I'll leave that to people with more money and marketing sense than me.
Roy Neel, thank you for joining us today. And we'll probably have you back again, maybe more on this book, certainly more on the presidential campaign, and certainly we do a second book.
Great, thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics this week. Hope you can be back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.
Do you do this once a week?